Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kimmel and Cox, your source for all things entertainment. I'm Keith Cox. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Dylan Kimmel. Dylan's got a new look today.
I do. I did shave my head off there. There is a good reason for it. I didn't just go crazy and just...
It wasn't just a random decision.
No. See, I got... I mentioned it before, I got psoriasis, so I have it on my head there, so I thought it'd be easier to clear up if I just, stopped scratching.
Yeah, let some sun get to it, maybe put some lotions on there and things, and yeah. Before you know it, it'll be smooth as a baby's butt. Well, if you've missed any of our previous episodes, be sure to go back and check those out. Some pretty good stuff in there. But on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the multi-talented Charlize Theron. And before we go any further, I have to apologize because I actually, in a couple of promos for this episode, I realized that I mispronounced her last name.
Oh, really?
I said Theron instead of Theron. But to be fair, I have heard it pronounced that way before as well. Yeah. But apparently she does not prefer that pronunciation of her name. It is actually Theron. So
you've done offended her.
Yes. So my sincere apologies, Miss Theron, if you ever happen to see this. My apologies for mispronouncing your name, but
sounds awfully close to Throne, which she most definitely.
It sounds more
because she's great.
The Throne sounds a little bit more elegant, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it is the preferred pronunciation is Theron. So, but. Extremely talented actress and so versatile. Just the range of roles that she's played over the years.
Like she's one of those action. She's mainly an action actress or dramatic actress.
Yes.
I guess is the proper term.
She looks like a model, but she has played these really gritty types of roles, and we'll get into that more as we talk about her career. But things that are like so far away from what you would think somebody like that would play.
And occasionally she does do a little bit of comedy.
And she's very good with that as well. But just to talk a little bit about her background and where she came from and everything. So she was born August 7th, 1975. In Benoni, Transvaal, South Africa, which is interesting. Not too many actors, I think, that came out of South Africa that I can think of off the top of my head.
Not that I can think of off the top of mine either. I'm sure there is one or two or anything, but there's probably not very many.
No. But she worked as a model and ballet dancer during her teenage years, growing up in South Africa. Obviously there's not as much opportunity for performers in a country like that. So like many people, she made the decision to come to America, and she was actually accepted into the Joffrey Ballet in New York, but a knee injury prevented her from having a career as a dancer. And
it's always a knee injury, isn't it?
Seems like it, whether it's sports or dancing or something along those lines.
I'm thinking of like Dwayne Johnson, how he was going to be like a football player and everything, and then a knee injury, or was it a knee injury?
You see that kind of thing a lot, and so she learned to speak English by watching American television, soap operas and things like that. And so she decided to start pursuing an acting career. And her mother actually paid for a one-way ticket to L.A. So she could get her acting career started.
One-way ticket, meaning
like, you gotta do it. You got to do it. There's no way back. Which is interesting that her mother would choose that, because typically parents, like, that's the way it was with my parents. When I told them that I wanted to be an actor, it was more the opposite. They were kind of discouraging, like,
We don't want you to go to
not
LA,
It's
no.
not a stable life, not a stable
Yeah.
career. Stay here and get a degree in something where you can actually get a normal job. And
Here's the funny thing about normal jobs. There's no guarantee that you're going to keep that job either.
right, there's no guarantees in anything in this
Yeah.
world. But I mean, I can see their point as
Yeah.
well that
Yeah.
it is very the industry is extremely unpredictable, and there's a lot of rejection. Probably just as much rejection as there is
I'd say the people
getting
that
a role.
Yeah, the people that can take the rejection and still move forward are the ones that actually get going more so.
Yeah,
Than
I think it motivates you more, because you're like
the ones that might take it a little too seriously and get hurt feelings and stuff and turn back. Those people won't.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to have the determination, or you're just not going to make it. It's so this was 1994 when she moved to LA, and she was beating down the doors of all kinds of agents in Hollywood, and none of them wanted to have anything to do with her, and which happens a lot. It's like trying to get noticed because there's so much competition in a town like that. And so the funny thing was that she was discovered by an agent, but not the way you would think. She went to a bank to try to cash a check that her mother had given her, because her mother was basically supporting her. Like when she moved to LA, she got I think she was staying in a hotel, and so her mother was sending her a few $100 a week or whatever to survive out there. But she went to the bank to cash a check for $500, and the bank wouldn't cash it because she wasn't an American citizen yet. And so she basically made a scene at the bank, just really, I guess, raised hell. And an agent happened to be standing behind her and saw something in her, like, I guess the fire or whatever, the passion in her over this, and he gave her his business card, and then he ultimately represented her, and then she started slowly getting roles.
Funny how things like that work.
Yeah. So I suppose she was discovered in a way. You hear about that kind of thing happening a lot, where somebody is discovered at just they see somebody in a grocery store or something like that, and they're like, oh, this person has a really unique look, or their face would look great on a screen, and obviously she did some modeling, and so she had that look, and a lot of
she had her headshots ready.
Yeah, a lot of people start out as models, before becoming actors. So that's a pretty typical thing. So yeah, that's how she got started in the business. And her first role, it was a non-speaking role in the movie Children of the Corn 3: Urban Harvest in 1995.
I never watched any of the Children of Corn movies.
I hadn't seen them either, and I love horror, but for some reason I missed those.
Stephen King, of all things.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of Stephen King movies too, but I never saw the Children of the Corn movies. So that's where she got her start, and then her first speaking role was in the movie 2 Days in the Valley in 1996, where she played a hit woman, Helga Svelgen. That's a name for you.
Helga Svelgen. What?
Yeah, and I guess it kind of, after playing that role, I guess she started getting some attention, and suddenly everybody was wanting to cast her in roles of that type. But she didn't want to do that. She didn't want to be typecast, and she wanted to be able to to broaden her talents, and so they said that the film kind of got mixed reviews, but there was a lot of attention on her performance. Particularly because of a fight scene that she had with Terry Hatcher in that movie, and but again, she didn't want to keep playing those same types of characters over and over again.
Yeah.
And then she actually, I didn't know this, but she had auditioned for the movie Showgirls, wasn't cast, but through that she met another talent agent, J.J. Harris, who would eventually become her agent for like the next 15 years, and she was really the one that got Charlize a lot of her breakthrough roles, and variety of genres and things like that. She had a little part in That Thing You Do. With Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks,
1996.
and I think he directed that too, didn't he?
Yeah, and which was a good movie. I enjoyed that movie.
I have yet to see it. But
it's good.
It's on my watch list.
Yeah,
because I'm a big Tom Hanks fan. Tom Hanks is going to be one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, and
if I were to have been an actor, I'd like it to have a resume like Tom Hanks. I mean, my goodness.
Gosh, like. I was just talking about that the other night. Like when you're Tom Hanks, it's like you're pretty much anything you do almost is going to be like Academy Award eligible. It's like when you're at that level, it's like, it's effortless for somebody like that. They're just good at everything they do. And apparently Charlize Theron is a big Tom Hanks fan too, because I guess one of the first movies that she saw as a child was Splash. And she fell in love with Tom Hanks after that, and she, for years, and she's acknowledged that too, that she had always had a big crush on Tom Hanks. And she loved him in that movie, and she felt like she could have, in watching Daryl Hannah's performance in that movie, she said that she thought she could do it better, which is funny. But later on, when she got to work on That Thing You Do, she actually had Tom Hanks autograph her script, and then years and years later, she ended up presenting him with an award, and he talked about how big of a fan he was of her and her career over the years. So that's kind of cool. It's like, how often do you get to not only meet one of your heroes, but to
get work
in a movie with them and meet them, and then later on to have that kind of admiration from, because then they're one of your peers.
I mean, that would be, I wouldn't even know what to think. I'm sure you wouldn't know what to think if one of your heroes was like, I'm a big fan of yours. You're like,
it's like, really? Because I've been a fan of yours, since I was like,
it's like,
since I was this big.
Me. No way.
Yeah, but I thought that was pretty cool. I guess her breakthrough role, the one that really brought her a lot of attention, was The Devil's Advocate in 1997. Which she co-starred alongside Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves in that. And she was basically playing the wife of this really successful lawyer, and so that garnered a lot of attention for her.
I'm ashamed to say I've not seen that one either.
Yeah.
But that sounds like a really good movie. I've seen the bits and pieces of it and everything like that, and I'm like, the dialogue there sounds really delicious.
Yeah. I mean, and and Pacino is, it's just like,
always. I mean, my goodness,
he's one of the most watchable actors out there.
And this is still early on in her career, and she's already working with greats, legendaries like that.
And
it just shows how much talent she has already.
Oh yeah. And the I think the first movie that I can remember seeing her in was Mighty Joe Young in 1998.
Yes.
I only vaguely remember the movie because I think I only saw it once, but I do remember her. I do remember her performance in that, and how.
I mean, it's her and Bill Paxton. I mean, Bill Paxton was also a very phenomenal actor, no longer with us, unfortunately.
Sadly, yeah.
But yeah, I remember that Now, I remember it because I'm pretty sure I've seen it more times than just once. However, that was back in 1999. I was born in 1993, so you can do the math on how old I was.
Yeah. But I do definitely remember her in that movie and how she stood out because she has has a very unique look to her. Like I said, she looks more like a model than an actor. Not that you can't have both of those because many times they go hand in hand. But yeah, I remember that, and then another big one for her the next year, 1999, was the Cider House Rules, where her character, it was kind of controversial because her character was trying to get an abortion, and this was like during World War II. Oh,
yes.
So those kinds of things were very taboo back then, and so that got a lot of attention for her as well, just playing a role like that. She was making a lot of magazine covers by this time. The late 90s. She was on the cover of Vanity Fair, and famously, she made the cover of Playboy in 1999, but they used and there was a big lawsuit that resulted from this because they used some nude photos that she had done back in '94, like during her modeling career, but they did not get her permission to use those images. And because she was starting to become famous by this point, so she actually she ended up suing them, Playboy, but she lost the lawsuit. Believe it or not, it was unsuccessful. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that somebody could get away with something like that, using pictures. It's not like she actually did a photo shoot for them. It's like they took pictures from another part of her career. And
that does seem rather wrong to me. It's one of those lawsuits where you're like, it makes perfect sense why they sued. Similar to the Crispin Glover suing over the Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale.
Because they replaced him in the sequels with a different actor.
We'll get into that when we get to Back to the Future and everything. But it's a similar thing because an actor's face, that's their livelihood, and if you're making buck off of without their say so, that's very wrong.
I mean that it is. I mean it's illegal. I mean it is illegal. Yeah. I don't know how they were able to get around that. Probably because the late Hugh Hefner just had all kinds of money to be able to fight that, and
dirty old man.
Yes, but so her career was really starting to take off. Early 2000s brought a lot of memorable roles as well. Reindeer Games with Ben Affleck was a good one. The Legend of Bagger Vance. Which I don't know if you saw that one. That was with, and this was both of these were in 2000, but that's the one with Will Smith where he played a golfer. And
I hadn't even heard of that one. I'm going to have to research on that one.
Curse of the Jade Scorpion in 2001, which actually featured Dan Aykroyd was in that, had kind of a smaller role in that. She commented on that part of her career, the early part of her career where, she was making some good movies, but she was, making a lot of bad movies too. And she acknowledged that some of them were she just was not, proud of, but like many people, that's just kind of the way that, when you're just starting out, you really don't want to say no to anything. You're just kind of taking whatever comes your way because you want to get noticed. You want to get that recognition. And then The Italian Job.
Oh, yes.
Great movie. That was in
Norton
2003.
Mark Wahlberg. Was it Mark Wahlberg in that?
Hold on. No, it was Mark Wahlberg. For a minute there, I had to think because I was getting it mixed up with The Bourne Supremacy. I was thinking of that with
you were thinking of Matt
Damon.
Yeah.
But no, the Italian Job was really great, which of course was a remake. The original movie from 1969 starred Michael Caine, but it's basically the same same plot and everything. But great action movie, and of course they had a lot of really great car chases in there too, which that's kind of my jam, as we know. So, but enjoyed her role in that, where she was basically she was like a safecracker, like a vault technician in that, if you will. And then probably the role that really put her on the map in terms of critical acclaim and just worldwide recognition for her performance was Monster. 2003 as well.
Yes, made a big splash with that one. No pun intended with the Tom Hanks movie.
Right.
But
I mean, really, to play a role like that where she played the famous serial killer Eileen Wuornos, who was a former prostitute who in Florida who had killed 6 men, and it was really a gruesome kind of thing, and now there's been so many actors who have taken on that challenge of playing a serial killer, and some have done it really well, and she was one of them, and actually it earned her an Academy Award for that role.
Didn't it? Yeah. And it's very interesting because that's one of the roles where she really shown, you don't have to be pretty, because she purposefully made herself not attractive.
Right, and she would go on to do that in future roles as well. She was really good at that, which is, we talked about her being a bit of a chameleon when it comes to acting, and that she can really transform her look. I mean, she put on 30 pounds for that role, and really, made herself look. She looked rough. It was not.
Not
she was almost unrecognizable. Yeah. But a lot of high praise for that movie and critical acclaim, and she won the Oscar for that, and which was a big deal because she was at the time that she was the first South African to win an Oscar, which was really cool. And then by 2006, she had become one of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood, and she was earning up to $10 million per film by then. So her career was well on its way. Some other, I guess, notable roles and things kind of from that time period. She actually in 2005 she had a little recurring role on the series Arrested Development, where she was playing Jason Bateman's girlfriend for a little while on that. She was she was mentally challenged, and which that's a really hilarious TV series, and certainly put Jason Bateman back on the map too. That was really the thing that took his brought his career back. And she also she did some voiceover work as well. Of course, you're a big gamer. Didn't know if you're familiar with the Eon Flux video game, but she provided a voice for that.
And even showed up and she even played the lead character in the movie version.
Yeah, and that was another one that she received a lot of. She received an award for that as well, for which, just receiving an award for voiceover work in a video game, that just shows you where we're at, now, and just the popularity of games and everything.
Video games are so back in the early 2000s, comic book movies were not very good. Video game movies not very good. we've reached the point where comic book movies are phenomenal. You know, they've reached a high point where they must be good. Video game movies are starting to get that way. I don't know how you feel about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie or Detective Pikachu. I mean, they're a bit more children friendly, but
yeah,
but again, they're
geared
still
more towards kids.
good. But lately, video game movies have started to peak up. I don't think Aeon Flux was a very good movie. Unfortunately, but it did not deter her career any. I don't think.
No. I mean, she just kept getting better. I think from there and playing a variety of different roles and different working in different genres. That same year, she was also in the drama North Country, where she was playing a single mother who worked in an iron mine, who was a victim of sexual harassment. And so that was, I guess, one of those movies that were kind of like along the lines of movies like Norma Ray, with Sally Field, and Silkwood with Meryl Streep. Those stories of women who overcome these horrible circumstances and kind of rise above their situation.
Yeah.
And other things along the way. 2007, another movie that and we mentioned awards a lot because she actually, she's been nominated and has won so many awards like throughout her career, but she received a lot of critical acclaim. 2007 for the movie, it was like a police drama in the Valley of Ella. And she was getting into producing around this time as well because her agent that she had for many years had encouraged her to become a producer, to be more involved with like creative control and everything with the types of movies that she was doing. And she would end up acting with Will Smith again in Hancock. Which is
also reuniting with Jason Bateman.
Yes, and which I thought was a good movie, a little different kind of different take on the superhero genre
and of course this was during the time when superhero movies were not as popular.
Yeah, and so she
hit
was,
and miss.
So she was playing the ex-wife of Will Smith's character Hancock, which was he was an alcoholic, an alcoholic superhero. So it's like you don't really see that very often. Someone who is playing such a flawed superhero, but it was just it was a different sort of spin on the superhero genre.
I thought it was a pretty creative spin. Honestly, it was.
And she kind of took a little bit of a, not necessarily, I guess, a hiatus, but there were definitely some fluctuations in her career for a little while there between like 2009 and 2016. She was kind of back and forth and even took a couple of years off from acting during that time. And she started doing commercials for Dior. For their J'adore fragrance. I used to be really good at French, but I've kind of lost some of that.
Yeah, I've lost it too.
J'adore. I don't know. I can't do it now.
I've lost it too. I was actually really good at French.
I took 2 years of French in high school, and
I understand French far better than I do Spanish.
Yeah, I used to be able to do the what do you call it, like the trills or whatever with your R's and stuff, and the way they kind of like the French have a very different way of like the way they pronounce their R's and everything. It's like j'adore. There's like a little bit of you can hear that, like there's just a little bit of like I don't know, what do you call it? Not it's a little. Not like not like Arabic or something like that, but it's a little bit. Is phlegmy the right word for that? It's a little bit of like it's like a little bit of a little bit of there's a little bit of that in there. Not really harsh, but
like you said, not Arabic or anything.
Yeah,
like
it's much more like subtle and kind of soft. But anyway, she did commercials for Dior for many years, and I think that. That probably got her as much attention as the movies and things that she was doing, because I can definitely remember those commercials from back then.
Yeah.
And then she, after kind of taking a little break there, she started getting more heavily into acting again, starting with the 2011 film. It was a sort of a black comedy called Young Adult. Which was directed by Jason Reitman.
Jason Reitman.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that that began a little kind of a working relationship with him. And
it's interesting, Jason Reitman he has a very different taste in filmmaking than his father.
Yeah. So he doesn't make he doesn't make necessarily movies that. He's not going for the really popular movies like the ones that he thinks everybody is going to mainstream. I guess it's not. It's not mainstream. He's more about story and more about character-driven stories as opposed to just making like big box office popcorn movies. Which, of course, we know he can do that. As well.
Oh yeah.
And she had some other, notable roles through the years, playing in 2012, playing the evil queen Ravenna in Snow White and the Seven Huntsmen, or no, Snow White and the Huntsman with Chris Hemsworth,
and even returning for the sequel, I believe. And here's the interesting thing about that is that. Snow White and the Huntsman, and then the sequel was just the Huntsman, because they kicked what's her name off? Is it Stewart? Is it Chris?
Kristen Stewart?
Is it?
Yeah, Kristen Stewart.
Not a huge fan of her, so I don't. But. Yeah, I actually did watch both of those movies, and honestly, that was like the interesting time because there was another Snow White movie that came out during that same year. It's one of those weird scenarios where there's two movies coming out, same concept, same characters and everything, but they do it in a different way, and one's going to be good, one's going to be bad.
Right.
So the same thing with so that one, the other one was Mirror Mirror.
Okay.
So the same year.
There was a period there where they were taking things like that, fairy tales, and turning them into these like really dark like horror movies, like they did. Yeah. They did one, I think, like that with like Little Red Riding Hood.
I think what started that was the big movie. I think it was a pretty big success, honestly. Brothers Grimm. I think that's what started that. Yeah. Which that one was pretty good. That was freaky, but pretty good. I mean, but yeah, Snow White and the Huntsman, I thought was actually, it was far better than Mirror Mirror.
Yeah, and later on, she proved that she could also hold her own in the comedy world. She hosted SNL. And then in 2014, she starred alongside Seth MacFarlane in A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Yes. Oh, I actually have a funny story about that movie. Okay. So I went and seen it with, at the time, my ex-fiance. And went to see it, and she had a box of Crunch, a bunch of Crunch.
Oh yeah.
And there came that scene with Neil Patrick Harris's character where he had diarrhea and he craps in the hat. She couldn't finish that bunch of crunch after that. Yeah, just looked at that and it just nope.
That's great. This is it's so funny. I'm gonna get a lot of crap about this one. No pun intended from my wife on this because of the way that I so easily laugh at toilet humor. But it's just I'm sorry, but it's just I don't know. Like
speaks to the inner child.
Farting is hilarious to me. Pooping is hilarious to me. Just bodily functions, like in general, but yeah, I guess like Dylan said, it's like the kid in me. So I will instantly laugh at stuff like that. But I remember that now. That's so funny that she couldn't finish eating after seeing that. Now I did not see this movie, but. 2015, she was in Mad Max: Fury Road, where she played.
I did see that.
Imperator Furiosa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I saw the original Mad Max with Mel Gibson, but I never saw this one.
This one was really good. Now, of course, it is. I'd say the Mad Max movies, they kind of take. They're all sequels, but then again, not sequels. Because in each movie, he ends up having the car back. But I think if you remember correctly, like specifically in like Road Warrior, was it Road Warrior? Or in each movie, the car ends up being destroyed.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it makes no sense that he would have the car again in the sequel.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah.
So they're all standalone stories of whatever.
Yeah. It's like they're connected, but not. Yeah.
And in this one, Tom Hardy's playing Mad Max and replacing Mel Gibson. Mm-hmm. And here's the interesting thing about that too is that it's not Mad Max's movie. Mad Max is the title character, but it's not his movie. It's Furiosa's movie. She's the lead character. It's her story. Mad Max is just he's just along for the ride, which is a very interesting way. Like, okay, so and they're actually making a spin-off movie. Charlize Theron is not playing Furiosa in the spin-off, but I hope that they do get her again for the next one because honestly, Furiosa is like really amazing character, and she is awesome in that movie. That's one movie where she shaved her head for that one.
Yep, I do remember that.
Interesting thing is that okay, some people might not think that a female would look good bald or anything like that. Charlize Theron is she looks good whatever.
There haven't been. Like some women can really pull that off. She's one of them. Demi Moore in G.I. Jane, I thought she pulled it off. But
Karen Gillan in Guardians of the Galaxy can pull it off too.
And Jada Pinkett Smith. Mm-hmm. There's there's a lot of actresses that can.
Oh, don't get Will Smith to.
No, let's not. Yeah, we don't want to go down that.
Keep her name out your mouth.
Yeah, shoot. But it's like we can all sort of agree that considering that she has a condition, that she has alopecia. Probably was not the best time to make a joke like that on public television, but yeah, again, and this speaks to Charlize Theron's commitment to whatever role that she's playing, and where she will literally alter her physical appearance just to bring a different kind of life to that role, and I think that's why so many people have. Critics and everyone alike have praised her so much through the years because she's really dedicated to everything that she does. The next year in 2016, we already mentioned that, but she reprised her role from Snow White and the Huntsman in the sequel, which was The Huntsman: Winter's War.
Yes. That's the name of it. Yeah, that's right.
And around the same time, Time Magazine had named her as one of the 100 most influential people in the world.
Definitely true.
Which
It's
is
definitely true.
because she's also an activist as well, and she's involved with a lot of different organizations, and going back to her South African roots, she actually got to meet Nelson Mandela, and then he presented her with an award. And which was like, she talked about how emotional that was for her.
I imagine
she
so.
broke down crying and everything. But, she had done so much for someone who came from that country. Nobody else had really achieved, that level of fame, that she has.
Yeah.
And then she's definitely in more recent years, she's definitely experienced a big, resurgence, even though I don't think her career ever really, waned. But
Not really,
no. But if you're into the Fast and the Furious franchise, which I am, I'm a huge car guy.
Car chases,
crazy
car
I love
chases.
Cars. I'm a huge car enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
And now I will say that I particularly enjoy the earlier Fast and Furious movies better than some of these more recent ones.
The more recent ones, they kind of went away from the racetrack, and they're now...
Well, and they started becoming a little bit more over the top with the action in terms of again...
Yeah. The first few were a little bit more grounded.
Yeah. I love practical stunts and effects and things like that, and those earlier ones really concentrated on that. Now they're just like, what can we come up with that is like...
we need to top that last action scene. Let's go into space.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about franchises.
It's almost headed in that direction, really.
Here's the thing about franchises, though. I don't know if you... But if you really pay attention to franchises, as a franchise lasts long enough, two things could happen. Either they forget, they don't know what else to do, so they either time travel or they go into space.
Yeah.
If a franchise goes too long, they go into space or time travel.
That is what is referred to in the business as jumping the shark. Once you go into outer space, like you've reached the end of your ideas at that point, and so many other films have done that. But so in 2017, she starred in The Fate of the Furious, playing a cyber terrorist named Cypher, and so she has from that point on, she had joined the Fast and the Furious franchise, and really enjoyed her role in that as well. Seeing her, playing it's always fun to watch somebody playing a villain. Especially when you're not used to, seeing them in those kinds of roles, and it's fun. Everybody always says it's more fun to play a villain.
It's also kind of terrifying because somehow they end up playing the villain better than they could a good guy.
Right.
You
got to stretch yourself more.
Mm-hmm.
And then she reunited with Jason Reitman again for the movie Tully, and playing a mother that really just, it kind of gets into the whole thing of being a single mom and all of the troubles that come with that, and of course, my own wife, Cynthia, has had a lot of experience with that, prior to us, being married. She was a single mom for, many, many years, pretty much, raised, our daughters on her own. And so she received, again, a lot of critical acclaim for that. And then she did a romantic comedy in 2019 alongside Seth Rogen called Long Shot. And so
now that's an interesting thing. Now this is I'm gonna try and segue this into this conversation here. So there was an interview where Jack Black was talking about how he did this little movie with I forget her name, but Kate Winslet. And he was talking about how she's going from Leo DiCaprio to Jack Black. It's one of those things where it's like interesting because I don't know how attractive women might find Seth Rogen, but the Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron playing like a couple is very interesting and everything like that. Because
it is. But
I mean, honestly, I'd say Charlize Theron is out of anyone's league, honestly. I mean, my goodness.
But it works. Like I mean,
it does. Once you see it, you're like, you know what? Maybe there is hope for me.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like I don't really, like
types is overrated. Having types
right.
is overrated.
And I've never really liked that term, like we saying that somebody is like out of someone's league. Now, now granted, I do, it's not that, it's not that I'm unrealistic about, things like that. And I do think that there probably is a degree of truth in that. But for the most part, I'm somebody who believes that like,
love
is love, and it comes in many different forms, and you can't
be shallow.
You can't put a stamp on that and say, well, But I mean, I get it. Some people are like, you're attracted to what you're attracted to, and that's fine. But but when people say stuff like, oh, there's no way, they don't have a shot in hell with that person, I'm like, it's like you never know because I see all kinds of odd matches out there. So so that a movie like that definitely speaks to that that not only that there's somebody out there for everybody, but sometimes there's somebody
the title of the movie, Long Shot.
It's a long shot. But yeah, any time that you see where they kind of turn that tradition on its head a little bit instead of just being a movie of nothing but pretty people, it's I think that's what makes it work because it's just it's more real world kind of stuff. And then I've heard a lot about this, but I haven't seen this one, but she did a film called Bombshell.
Yes.
Where she was playing Megyn Kelly, and the film was directed by Jay Roach, who, as you know, directed the Austin Powers movies. He's more known for directing comedy than anything else. But the whole film revolved around that the sexual harassment allegations that were made against the CEO of Fox News, Roger Ailes, by a bunch of his female co-workers or whatever, and everybody says it's really good. I need to check that one out, but because I always enjoy movies like that too that are based on real events, and so she actually was nominated for an Academy Award, actually several awards for that movie as well, and then that was also in 2019, and just like she's already been used to getting all of this recognition, and so by 2020, Forbes magazine had named her the 9th highest paid actress in the world. So it's like her career just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's like and it's rare when you come across an actor or actress who doesn't seem to have a ceiling. Like some actors kind of have a cap. They reach a point. They reach a peak. In their career. Yeah. And then you have others that just seem to, even as they get older, they just keep getting better and better and better. Like, like Clint Eastwood. I mean, it's like,
oh, he's not slowing down either. he's nearing 100. And
yeah, crazy. And then in 2020, she reprised her role of Cypher in F9, which was the 9th movie in the Fast and Furious franchise.
As the number would suggest. Yeah.
And that was another one of those movies that got delayed due to the pandemic. And then, as we were talking about earlier, she is now part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, thanks to her role in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, it's a little cameo at the end there.
Yeah.
Becomes the new love interest to Doctor Strange, which is I thought it was a very well-made movie.
I liked it a lot.
It's everything I wanted Doctor Strange to be, the first one. So
yeah. But it was funny because her role was so quick in that I had forgotten that she was in it. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I guess it was much more memorable for me because of where I was and am at in my life right now.
You can relate to it.
Yeah, relationship-wise and, personal-wise and everything like that. Won't get into any details, but I can relate to how Doctor Strange felt at that time because, one, he was with a person that he loved and admired and wanted to be with, but career-wise, the way his life is, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then he says to her, I love you in every universe, and then let's go. And then before he knows it, someone else comes along. I don't know who that person is for me, but
yeah,
but it's a very nice poetic movie, I think.
Yeah, and many times. Comic book movies have a way of doing that. I think that's why we enjoy them so much because they do. You can always find a character in there that you can relate to some way. And it kind of, especially when they reveal their vulnerabilities. That because even heroes have vulnerabilities. They have their own demons sometimes that they wrestle with, and a little bit of darkness and.
And here's the interesting thing about Marvel movies. Here's the interesting thing about comic book movies in general. DC movies, they're kind of. Here's what I told. Me and my friend agreed on this here. Marvel movies are movies about humans becoming gods. Right.
Yeah.
And how would that be? Well, obviously they're very flawed and still going to be very flawed. DC movies are the reverse. Heroes, gods becoming humans. If you think about it, all those characters were born with their powers, basically, or destined to already have those powers.
True, yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, when you think about it, because
the only one that
Superman, Wonder Woman.
Even the Flash, which he was kind of predestined already to have superpowers because there's this force coming. This. It wasn't lightning in a bottle or whatever like that. It was something coming to him and being like, so he was already predestined.
Like Batman was one of the few out of the DC characters that was not born with any sort of extra abilities or anything like that. It was just all because of his wealth and resources that he was able to, do the things that he could do. And obviously he was very well trained, and athletic, and he could fight and everything. But
that's the only exception. But I always thought that was a very curious thing about Marvel movies, and that's probably why Marvel movies are so much more relatable than DC. Because we all know what it's like to be human. So there's no point in watching a movie about people learning to become human. It's redundant. But watching a movie about people who are human becoming more than human, it speaks to us in a much more deeper way because we kind of want that. Yeah,
it's like, what would it be like if we were in that situation, like or if you start out human and you receive powers, it's like, how do you get used to using those powers? And so it's like a coming of age kind of thing, and
Yeah.
and,
And everyone loves coming of age stories
learning
too.
to develop your skills. And again, we've talked about getting back to Charlize Theron. We've talked about her activism, and she in 2007 she founded the Charlize Theron Africa Outreach Project, and that was created to support African youth in the fight against HIV and AIDS. So taking it back to her roots and her home country and everything. And 2008, she was named a United Nations Messenger of Peace, which is pretty cool. And just for the work that she did, through that, foundation that she started for AIDS and HIV. And she also, has publicly acknowledged that she is a supporter of same-sex marriage, and so she's a big part of that community as well, and which it kind of speaks to, I guess, her own life and her own views about marriage, because she is not married herself. She has dated several famous people through the years, including Craig Bierko, Stefan Jenkins from Third Eye Blind, Stuart Townsend, and then most recently Sean Penn, who she had worked with him before in a movie, but she's never been married, and says that she just doesn't. She had said in an interview that the reason she doesn't want to get married is because she feels like the institution of marriage has kind of become very one-sided. And so, that's why she is supportive. She's supportive of, people who want to, to step outside, the boundaries of what would, is traditionally, considered in marriage. And, but she has two adopted children, Jackson and August. So, again, very, very well-rounded, very versatile performer, as well as obviously she's very philanthropic as well, and and very active in a lot of different things. She has a lot of passions, and it's always great to see someone pursuing that, and using her influence and her fame to for a good cause, to be able to and I think that's what we all would like to be able to do. I know I've said that before about myself, that like it's not just about it's not necessarily wanting to be famous or whatever, but it's using it. It's like, if you get to that point where you're in the limelight, then obviously you have a tremendous opportunity there.
A tremendous opportunity and responsibility.
Yes, to reach people in a way that that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Most people don't have a platform to do that on, and so I'd like to think that if I ever achieved that kind of popularity or fame or whatever, that I would want to use that for good, and to be able to hopefully make an impact on people, not just through performances, the way that so many of my, heroes over the years have done, but on a personal level too, and
would you believe that fame amplifies what the person is at heart?
I think so. I mean, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Because it is you. I mean, that performer is a version of you, and it's part of your personality and who you are, and so. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who, who are fake. I mean, it does exist. There's people who just put on that persona, that air, whatever, and just because it's like a PR kind of thing, and But I also think that. Probably for every person that's like that, there's also at least two people who are truly genuine, and I think Charlize Theron is one of those people, and she is certainly proven to be an inspiration to other women out there, with all that she's been able to do, not only in her career but in her personal life and everything, and she's. Very admired and well respected, and so I think it's great that someone like her is out there to be a positive influence on women growing up. And
there's another movie. I don't think if you talked about Atomic Blonde.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. I did skip over that, didn't I?
Yeah. So that was earlier. That was probably after Mad Max Fury Road, but it was somewhere in between that and Bombshell, I believe.
Right.
But yeah, that's another great movie. We can move on. But yeah.
That's another one. That's why I completely skipped over that. Forgot to mention that.
During the hype of John Wick, something similar to John Wick.
Oh, so, right. Yeah.
So it's very similar to that, but female lead, and obviously who better than Charlize Theron to play a action hero like that.
Yeah, she is like the epitome of someone who kind of presents the whole package, when it comes to her performances, beauty and brains and toughness and a little bit of edginess and sometimes downright scariness, because she can definitely play those twisted and disturbed characters as well. So, and I think that's what everybody who is an actor strives for, is you don't want to be put in a box, and you don't want to be labeled or typecast in a certain way. And so if you can do that, if you can play a variety of roles convincingly, then it just makes you so much more valuable in Hollywood. And I think she's got a very, very long career still ahead of her.
Yes, definitely.
But we're just about out of time here. But as always, before we go, we just want to remind everybody to be sure and subscribe, like, and share to our YouTube channel. And when you do subscribe, be sure to tap that nice little bell icon so that you're receiving all the notifications whenever new episodes or content are posted. And we are doing some extra stuff now. We've started posting some shorts and some clips as well. So, if you, and those have proven to be pretty popular. You guys seem to really be liking those, so we're definitely going to do a lot more of that. And we're also going forward, starting with this episode, we're going to start kind of breaking the episode up into segments, which a lot of other channels do. It just makes it easier. So, maybe if you don't have time to watch the entire episode, it will kind of be divided up into chapters so that you can just access whatever section or whatever topic that you're really interested in hearing about. So we think that's going to be really helpful for everybody. Be sure to follow us on our socials as well. We are on all of the major social media platforms, and we will have those links available for you on the bottom of your screen, as well as in the down below in the video's description and in the closing credits of every episode. So there is no way whatsoever that you can miss those. We're going to beat you over the head with that because we need all the subscribers and followers we can get. So be sure to check those pages out. And there's plenty of other places where you can catch the podcast. We'll have those links again for you in the video description. But just to name a few, we're also on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Amazon Music. So there's plenty of places where you can catch us, whether you want to watch the podcast or listen to it. And we really, more than anything, we just want to hear from you guys. We want you to get in on the conversation. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. You can comment on the episodes on YouTube. You can go to our socials and leave comments for us there, or you can reach us by emailing us on our official podcast email, kimmelandcox@gmail.com. And one last thing, just want to direct everybody to our Patreon page again, and that's another really unique way where you can support us. And just by contributing. It's great, to have the likes and the comments and the follows and all that. But, doing something like this, if we really want to do it on a bigger scale, it takes funding to do that, sadly. We're doing this out of our, own pockets. And so, if you were to contribute, it's, you would, like Dylan has mentioned before, in essence, you would be like a producer, and we would give you credit for that.
Yeah, at the moment, we're working on a shoestring budget.
Yes.
Or no budget at all.
Pretty much, yeah. It's... Dylan has most of the equipment, pretty much, all the equipment that we use has been supplied by Dylan, things that he already had or has purchased to be able to do the podcast. But with your help, we could take this thing to a whole new level. We could look into getting a permanent studio space where we could have maybe some green screen action going on there, and just be a much slicker looking environment. And we just want to be able to deliver the highest quality podcast that we possibly can. So definitely get on there and check out some of the perks that we're offering, because we believe, if you're going to contribute, we want to give you something back for your generous contribution. So check that out and see if there's anything on there that strikes your fancy, and we would love to have that support. Next week is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to be digging into a franchise that has been certainly was a huge part of my childhood, and I'm sure it was for Dylan as well. But we are going to be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first movie in that franchise from 1990, and I can't wait for that. It's one that I've really been looking forward to, so I think you guys are going to enjoy it as well. But anyway, we hope you'll join us here next week, and until then, be good to yourselves, and we'll see you next time. You dipstick.